Hi, I'd like to speak today in this e-learning video about the power of Think Like a CEO app when we're doing an analysis that's classic in the B-School world called Michael Porter's 5 Forces model. It's a way that Porter's outlined to look at the overall environment in which a business operates. Now, I've subtitled this, The Most Complete Industry Understanding You Can Get in 5 minutes or less. And chances are it's going to be less than 5 minutes, particularly if you've used Think Like a CEO app for a little while. So Michael Porter's 5 Forces model, force number 1 is the industry competitiveness. This would be the other competitors of your prospect that you're selling to. Then you also have the buyer power. So the companies that your prospect is selling to, how much power do they have? And we're going to get into each of these in just a minute. Then you have the supplier power and how much power they have with respect to the industry players. You have the power and the threat of substitutes. And then finally, the threat of new entrants. So this is Michael Porter's 5 Forces model, as everyone who's taken a strategy class understands. So let's look at how we can do this and Think Like a CEO app. But I want to tell you right off the bat that a lot of this information is summarized in the Profit Strategies tab. So it's pretty much done for you in Think Like a CEO. You hit Profit Strategies. It outlines the profit strategy that the company is embarking on or where they are in the market. And also gives you those specific questions that you can start talking to line of business managers to get out of the IT area and into line of business. But let's talk about some of the things that we can use within the Think Like a CEO app. Obviously, out of the box, we have the competitors to your prospect, and or you're able to go into competitors and add competitors within their SIC code. So you can add as many competitors, well, actually up to 5 in their SIC code. You can also add companies that aren't in their SIC code, obviously. So if your prospect benchmarks against another publicly traded company that might not be in their industry, let's say, for example, Apple or Cisco or something like that, if they're not an industry player, you can certainly put that in there also. But with Think Like a CEO app, you can get a complete understanding of all the industry players. And then we have something that I've always referred to as sell-through. So I always like to understand the customers of my prospect. And that's what this is here. It also gives you an idea, as Porter points out, in buying power. So I like to find the customers that my prospect is selling to, and you can find this in their 10K, which you can hit on immediately in Think Like a CEO app. And then do a Think Like a CEO analysis in the Think Like a CEO app on these customers. It will give you a great analysis and environment of where they stand, and then you have an even better understanding of your customer because you understand their customers. Obviously, you look at things such as concentration of customers. If the buyer has fewer companies to buy from, then the industry player that you're prospecting will have more power. If there are many, many players that the buyer can purchase from, then obviously they will have more power. Again, you can utilize the SIC codes here. It will give you an idea of the concentration within the industry, both in the industry competitiveness, the prospect that you're selling to, as well as his sell-through buyer. We can also look at the supplier power. So again, we can find the suppliers from the 10K of your prospect, and we can go do the Think Like a CEO analysis on them. Let's find out how many suppliers there are in the same SIC code. Again, the concentration ratio, as they say in B-School. We can look at distribution channels. We can look at the costs to switching suppliers from the industry player that your prospect to the supplier. It gives us an idea in this area of Michael Porter's 5 Forces. With respect to substitutes, we can find out again, via the 10K, which you hit on very, very quickly, the level of differentiation and the difficulty in substitutes entering the market. You can also look at the profit strategies of the substitute businesses and find out where they are and how their market is. So again, you can do the same 5 Forces model with the buyers, with the suppliers, with the substitutes, and of course, with the new entrants. When you look at an industry model, the industry competitiveness, that would be your initial prospect, you want to see how profitable the industry is. Okay, if it's very, very profitable compared to others, it's going to attract more competition. Great example is a software industry, highly profitable. And if your prospect is in the software industry and you look at the competitors and see the number of SIC code companies in that industry, it's immense. Another thing you might look at is the asset requirements. For instance, in the competitive environment in the industry, does it require a lot of fixed assets versus not? Let's take a quick example. If your customer is a manufacturer, then the market entrant may be having to build a factory. If, on the other hand, it's a construction company, there's very few barriers to entry, and new entrants can come in quickly. You can also, within the 10K, look for government patents, policies, the type of differentiation or commoditization in the industry from the industry as well as a new entrants. So you can do all of this by very quickly finding names of companies, adding them to Think Like a CEO app, looking at the profit strategies, doing the revenue, productivity, operations, and cash, perhaps even doing sell-through to the second level, taking your buyers that your prospect is selling to, you do the sell-through and look at their analysis, and then you do that very same thing with those customers, so you really get an understanding of the industry. The net is utilizing the immensely powerful tools within Think Like a CEO app. You're going to be able to literally within minutes do something that used to take hours, days, or perhaps even weeks with numerous spreadsheets and numerous research and very, very quickly understand an industry. So the importance is you're going to be able to call on every single customer, and instead of walking in and trying to align your customer with something that you do, maybe his son plays Pop Warner football or his daughter's a figure skater or he likes to fish. Hey, you like to fish? I like to fish too. Let's talk about fish. Instead of that, you're going to be able to approach him with the true understanding of his business, the issues, and the analysis that gets him thinking, this person I'm speaking to here, this salesperson, this sales team, this team demonstrating their technology, product, or service, understands my current situation. And because they understand my current situation, I think that I'm going to go with them. I'm going to take them to the next level, because when they understand where I'm at, then we can more easily align with what I need to do with their product or service. So again, really excited about the ability of Think Like a CEO app in this framework of Michael Porter's 5 Forces models. I hope that you found this useful. Feel free to listen to it again and again if there are some things that perhaps I spoke too quickly. As you're doing this, if you get some ideas, please drop it in the feedback. Let us know. If there's something that we can put in the app to make it better, that's great. Or I certainly want to hear some of your feedback. So thank you, team. Have a fantastic day and rock on.